Today I'm looking at TTArtisan's 35mm f1.4 tilt lens for APS-C cameras. TTArtisan first released a full-frame 50mm tilt lens, designed to let you control the focus plane, either narrowing it to a thin slice or extending it for more depth. It's also a lot of fun to play with, especially if you like that miniature effect. In May 2025, they followed up with an APS-C version, the 35mm f1.4 tilt lens, offered at a very budget-friendly price. Of course, it can also be used just as a fast classic f1.4 standard lens. Let's take a closer look. I tested this lens on a 22-megapixel Nikon Z-F-C. If you prefer reading, you can find this review as a text-based blog post on our blog site, where you'll find detailed test charts on sharpness and other characteristics. Most of the sample images in high resolution are available on a separate site. I leave links to the blog post and the sample images in the description below. TTArtisan kindly provided this lens for testing and review. However, this review is completely independent, and all opinions expressed are my own. Here are the specifications of this lens. You can pause the video to take a closer look or check out our blog post for a more detailed overview. Handling and build quality. The TTArtisan 35mm f1.4 tilt is a fully manual lens made entirely of metal. That means no autofocus, no aperture control from the camera, no image stabilization, and no electronic contacts for communication. It feels solid and tightly constructed, but there are no visible weather sealing gaskets. Right near the front element, there is a focusing ring that turns smoothly through about 150 degrees, marked in both meters and feet. The aperture ring has variable spacing between markings, wider near the maximum aperture and tighter at smaller apertures. It's marked every half stop from f1.4 to f4, then in full stops beyond that. The ring clicks are removed. Not my favorite choice for photography, but as long as I can see the aperture value in the viewfinder, that's fine. The problem is, this lens has no electronic contacts, so the camera can't display any aperture info. That means you have to take your eye off the viewfinder and check the lens barrel to see your aperture setting, which can get frustrating. On top of the lens, there is a screw to loosen the tilt mechanism, letting you adjust the tilt angle and direction. There is also a screw on the side that lets you loosen the lens to rotate it a full 360 degrees. You get complete freedom to tilt in any direction you want, in 15 degrees click steps. The package includes standard front and rear caps, but no lens hood. Here is an example of how the tilt function can help extend the focus or maximize the depth of field. Here is another one, where in both shots the aperture has been set to f16. And here is an example of how to achieve a thin slice of focus or minimize the depth of field. All images taken at f1.4. And here is an example of the so-called miniature world. Optical features. Let's start with sharpness. To assess it, we examine three areas: sharpness near the infinity mark, the portrait distance, and in close-up shots. For the infinity sharpness test, we look at three areas of the image: center, midframe, and corner. Vignetting has been corrected in images taken at f1.4 and f2. Center sharpness is very good wide open, but the midframe and corners are just okay. Stopping down to f2 improves the center and midframe a bit, but the corners don't get much better. At f2.8, the center becomes excellent and the midframe very good. The corners improve, but still aren't great. By f5.6, the mid-frame sharpness is also excellent, while the corners reach a good level around f8 to f11, though they never quite match the rest of the frame. Diffraction starts affecting sharpness everywhere by f16. Sharpness at portrait distance. Let's look at the points of interest for portraits at portrait distance: the center, the inner circle, and the outer circle. Center sharpness is good right from f1.4. The inner circle is okay, and the outer circle is just usable. Stopping down improves sharpness across the frame, and by f2.8 both the center and inner circle are very good. The outer circle reaches a good level around f4. Close-up sharpness. Center sharpness is good, but it looks a bit hazy, with some halation. Stopping down to f2 clears the haze and improves sharpness to very good. From f2.8, sharpness becomes excellent and stays that way until f16, where diffraction slightly reduces sharpness, though it remains very good. Lens distortion. There is a noticeable barrel distortion. To correct it in Lightroom or Photoshop, you'll need to apply about a +4 adjustment. This lens has better than average vignetting control for a standard f1.4 lens. Wide open, the vignetting is quite strong but no worse than others in this class, and it improves quickly, becoming negligible from around f2.8. Focus shift and aberrations. The TTArtisan 35mm f1.4 tilt shows some focus shift and spherical aberration. Most of the spherical aberration clears up by f2, while the focus shift becomes noticeable in the final f4 refocused image shown in the series here. It also shows longitudinal chromatic aberration, visible as purple and green fringing. To eliminate this completely, you'll need to stop down to at least f5.6. There is also a small amount of lateral chromatic aberration, but can generally be ignored. However, in critical situation with a very high contrast background, it's best to correct it. Flare resistance. Both ghosting and veiling flares can appear when a strong light source is inside or just outside the frame. Ghosting is usually more noticeable at smaller apertures, while veiling flare can show up at any aperture. That said, veiling flare can sometimes be used creatively. To minimize unwanted flare, try shading the lens with your hand and avoid shooting directly into bright light sources. But if you want to get creative, embracing some flare can add some atmosphere and mood to your shots. Chroma. This lens exhibits a relatively high level of chroma in the extreme corners. To eliminate it completely, you'll need to stop down to around f8. Sun stars. This is one of the lens's strengths, producing clean and distinctive 10-ray sun stars from about f5.6 onwards. Focus breathing. This 35mm lens exhibits quite strong focus breathing, which may be less than ideal for videographers. Bokeh. First, let's look at the bokeh itself, the specular highlights in the out-of-focus areas of the background. Now let's have a closer look at the background blur at different distances. Up close, the bokeh is smooth and pleasant, but that's pretty normal for any large aperture lens focused close. At mid-distances, the bokeh starts to lose some softness and can look a bit busy, meaning the out-of-focus highlights have more texture or edges that draw attention. Long-distance bokeh is even trickier to get right. If a lens struggles at mid-range, it's unlikely to do better farther away. The bokeh is not bad, but it shows some outlining that makes the bokeh a little too busy at mid and long distances. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, of course, but to me, this lens's bokeh is a bit too busy. Check out the sample images in the review to see what you think. Conclusion and sample images. Here is what I liked. Size and weight, sun stars, sharpness stop down, vignetting. Price. On the average side, sharpness wide open, bokeh. Chromatic aberrations. As for what I didn't like, focus shift, focus breathing, lack of electronic contacts. If you're after a tilt lens for your APS-C camera without breaking the bank, this lens is a solid choice. It shines at f2.8 and smaller apertures, with lovely sun stars and decent bokeh. Sharpness is also very good from f2.8. It opens up a lot of creative possibilities, especially if you want to try tilt effects without spending a fortune. That said, if you're mainly after a regular fast f1.4 lens, there are better options out there. But as a tilt lens, it offers fantastic value. So if you're curious about the photography and want to experiment without a big investment, this lens is definitely worth considering. As mentioned earlier, this review is also available in written format on our blog, where you'll find detailed test charts on sharpness and other characteristics. I've also listed a few alternatives at the end of the article for those interested. Most of the sample images are available in high resolution on a separate site, and you'll find links to both the blog post and sample images in the description below. If you are thinking about buying this lens, you can support our work by using the links in the description. It won't cost you anything extra or affect the price, but it helps us a little. You can also donate to support the channel. A huge thanks for watching. Your comments are always welcome. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Until the next video, have a fantastic time, everyone.